Ladies and gentlemen, thank you all so very much for joining us live here. It is July 26th, 2021 on a lovely Monday evening. I love when we can actually make it happen right at the start of the week. My name is Sean Phillips, as always, and again, I am joined by my two lovely co-hosts, Mr. Andy Van Beber and Travis Kirkendall. Gentlemen, how are we doing today?
Fantastic. How are things going in Jefferson City?
How are things going in Jeff City? Not too shabby. We've had a sick kid the past week, but otherwise things have been good. So the weekend was really, really hectic as we build and get ready for our vacation next week. So it has just been a bit of a get together. I've got a really busy work week this week, but get ready to hit the ground running. So no complaints.
So remind us where is the vacation going to be at?
We are headed out to Gulf Shores in Alabama. We are going to do.
You're like the 10th person. Night. I'm so jealous.
Yeah. Well, cheap beach vacation. I'm super excited. We're going to do a night in Nashville on the way there, and then go down for the week down there in Gulf Shores, and then come back and probably do another night in Nashville, and then head home. So
that's exactly the way that we do.
Much needed.
I tell you what. Yeah. You've been to Gulf Shores before, right?
I have not actually. This is my first time, and Tony's first time.
I tell you what, it's very inexpensive. There's a lot of cool things that you can do for next to nothing. There's a lot of free things that you can do. Definitely, I would go down and see the USS Alabama while you're down there. It's in Mobile. It's very cool.
Nice. Yeah, I'm really excited. It should be a lot of fun. We were either going to do mountains or beach, but then we just kind of decided with all the walking, we don't know how much of that Julian's going to want to be doing. So we're going to do the beach. And yeah, really, really, it's well deserved. Tony busts her butt. She's been busting her butt with the book. She finished the book, is working on another one now that's about to get started. We're actually, hopefully, fingers are crossed. Fingers are crossed. We are potentially the beginning of August getting an office space here in town rented. That'll actually be space for her to write, and then it'll also be a spot where Travis and I I'll run the coffee stuff out of this office because there's gonna be plenty of storage space and shipping space. But then also I'm thinking about taking a little corner of it to myself as well to put up a little podcast studio and marketing studio and stuff.
Sir.
So
Sir.
It's gonna be a multi-space. It's mostly gonna be for Tony as she dives into this next book that she's getting ready to roll on. So this vacation is coming at a good time. Recruiting's been good, wrestling's been good, and so now it's time we take a week to ourselves. So
I'm happy for you. That's great that you guys are
nice, man. You got to do that.
Yeah. Travis, what's going on with you, bub?
I'm going up to Kenosha, Wisconsin this weekend with some old high school friends, doing like some fishing or something up there. The details have been kind of vague. I just know we're fishing.
And I'm really bummed out that I'm missing out on that trip. Literally, I kid you not, when I got the message about it, we had quite literally probably the week before had decided we were leaving that weekend to go to Gulf Shores. Like it was already set in stone. Like this is when it works best for me and work and everything. And then I got the text about it and was like, you've got to be kidding me. Of course, that's how it goes. So.
Nah, it's all good. You'll have a good time here.
By the way, shout out to our boy Reed Leak for getting engaged over the weekend. That was a big thing. I know.
Yeah, big shout out.
Reed is a regular listener of our podcast, so shout out to Reed and congratulations to him.
Congratulations, buddy.
Well, this week I did something unique. I took my children. We went tent camp. We always go camping every year. We usually do we have a little cabin out and we at this campground that we usually rent out. But this year we said we're going to do tent camping. And I've done tent camping once with. Well, I did tent camping with my brothers, and I did it a long time ago. And we had this. You read the package and it says 3-person tent. So I'm thinking, large Caucasian man, 2 tiny Chinese children, should not be a problem, right? Oh my God. It was like trying to, my daughter and we had this, we put this big old mattress in there and we camp, the ideal campsite. It was on was on this creek, right on this creek bed. It had this stone ledge on the creek bed. And we camped out, had the fire, everything was going. And then when it came time to go to bed, it was like, my daughter's like, she like sleeps like all spread out like this and everything. My son's like huddled in a ball in the corner, and I'm just like, and I'm trying to stay on the mattress because it was a brand new mattress, and so when you pump those things up, they stretch and then they deflate. But we had a great time nonetheless. It was awesome.
That's good.
Yeah,
That's
That's all
good.
that matters.
yeah.
I actually just found out that not too far from here. So a fun fact, which is funny because I've lived in Pike County for so long, and it just seems to be the thing to do. I've never done a float trip in my
Really?
entire life,
Oh, they're great.
and I don't know if it's just I don't find being around a bunch of hammered people on water is just like, and mosquitoes and bugs is appealing.
Let's do this one.
But what I did find out is there's like a haunted float trip tour thing that happens out in my neck of the woods that I think we might do this October. It looks like a lot.
Dude, you've got to
fun,
record.
so we'll see.
Well,
We'll see.
we've got to do. I'm thinking we have to do some kind of paranormal show in October. Some kind. On location somewhere.
I will try to do. I'll see what I can find out about seeing if I can get us in the state penitentiary, like a private tour or something.
I would love to be able to get in this. I mean, and just we do a live. We just have our phones and we just share. Just share the Facebook Live and just walking down.
It'd be fun.
Oh my God, that'd be.
Oh, yeah.
When in October is that float trip, the haunted one?
I'll do some digging. While we're talking later,
Let us
and I'll
know.
find
If it's
out
on a
because
weekend,
I
yeah,
saw a
we'll
post for it.
go
Yeah.
with you guys.
And as we're
Yeah,
talking,
it is on a weekend. I do know that. Yeah.
And speaking of research, Travis, I want to take this opportunity for you to give a little plug for your list. We've give a little plug for your list. We're going to be publishing this on once I figure out how to do it. You submitted it to our group email the other day. Why don't you talk a little bit about this list that you've created? Then we're going to be sharing.
Yeah, so like 3 or 4 episodes ago, we were talking. Forget even what the subject was, but I had said that I was going to make a list for the listeners for jobs that offer like tuition assistance, tuition reimbursement, and college opportunities while you work. I think we were talking about like free education or something, and the truth is there are opportunities out there that people don't take advantage of. For instance, the thousands of scholarships that never get applied for, the grants that nobody fills out the paperwork for. I mean, there's a lot of them out there that people just don't use. But anyway, this list I made, I think on the list itself, there's only like 20 companies I listed maybe, but I found easily over 50. The ones that I listed were the ones that I could specifically find what they offered. But there's a lot of jobs that say they offer college benefits, whether it's tuition assistance, reimbursement, or even like tech certifications. There was a lot of those I saw. And that's just something you have to ask the recruiting team because the websites were a little vague on it, but the ones I listed were pretty straightforward. I even put the military and I put Sean, I put you down as the point of contact for that. You're welcome.
There we go.
It was fun though. I had fun doing it. And
Yeah.
I even learned about some opportunities that are really great. And, if you're looking to go to school and make some money, I mean, these are great opportunities. And I mean, you get to work, you have an employer that's going to help you pay for your school and they're going to work with your school schedule. So, hey, take advantage of those opportunities out there.
So we will have that once I figure out how to post and if anybody wants to text me later on and show me how to post a PDF to a Facebook page, I will be more than happy. I have the PDF. I have it on my desktop. Just can't figure it out to get it on to point A to point B. But we will have that before the end of this week. We will have that posted on the Facebook page. So
I've got you. I know a runaround way to get it done, but yeah, I can explain to you how I do it.
Okay.
So.
Okay.
And if people, just of the 20 I have listed, I think it was 20. If you want more information about some other jobs that I saw, feel free to message me directly on Facebook, Instagram, or just message us through the podcast page, and I'll be glad to help you out.
Great. That's awesome. So what did you guys, I wanted to, before we got into our main topic tonight, I wanted to share, and I didn't discuss this with you guys beforehand, but we say this all the time. We periodically post stuff on our group chat throughout the week and I came across what I call the headline just says San Francisco considers testing the $20,000 prototype trash can. So what San Francisco is considering are these new public trash cans.
Oh my! Yeah.
So the city of San Francisco has already purchased 15 of these $20,000 prototype trash cans, and so what these things can do, and they're part of a $537,000 pilot program to replace the more than 3,000 public trash cans throughout the city. And what these cans are, they can withstand vandalism, tampering, while also including recycling options and alerts when the cans need to be emptied. That's what $20,000 will buy you in San Francisco. Noted that San Francisco has one of the highest homeless rates in the United States. I think they are number 3 or number 4 behind Los Angeles and Houston, I think it is. Or no, New York and Houston. It's New York and Houston.
Yeah.
So you want to know what your $20,000 tax dollars can get you? In the city of San Francisco, it is a trash can. I found that to be... Do you know that there's somebody somewhere is just making a crap ton of money, and they sold this off onto a city employee or to a city official and said, look, you know what the big problem that we have with our trash is? We don't know when these cans are running over. We need to have like some Wi-Fi that tells us trash can's full and needs to be emptied. And so there's somebody somewhere probably making $15,000 on a trash can that probably $19,000 on a trash can that probably only cost to make about $1,000 probably.
Oh, they may think, but if they're a California company, they're just going to lose it all the taxes anyway. So they're going to lose half their profit.
To me, when I read that, I was like, okay, what's your priority? I mean, we have a student who just graduated this last year, and she actually is from she's from California area. And she's told me about this area that's outside it's right there on the airport, right out. And I may have told you guys about this before. They call it the Miserable Mile. It's right.
I've heard of it.
When you come out of the airport, it's like this homeless. She said it's like literally a mile of just homeless tent cities that are right there by the airport. And they have, in the last year, I mean, obviously COVID and everything, but they said they've had tuberculosis outbreaks in this place. It's just, I mean, and the city is literally, they're bumfuzzled on what they need to be doing with this, but hey, $20,000 trash can will fix problems, but I tell you what, $20,000 could go a long ways in building maybe homeless shelters or something like that, or $537,000 can go a long way in building homeless shelters or anything like that, but I found that I was just like, and they said it's also they're described as durable, hard to tamper with, easy to service, and aesthetically pleasing. So
if people would just start, writing their local officials and writing their senators and just, I guess taking more action, maybe stuff like this would stop with our governments, but. Instead, we complain and we post on the internet how upset we are, but I don't know how many people actually reach out to their local representatives when stuff like this happens. And it's like,
and we talked about you and I when you and I were hosting a couple of weeks ago, Travis. We were talking about civic duty and civic responsibility. People do not. It's like I don't know if you think that your congressman is unapproachable or what, but I mean. Our state representatives are easy to reach out to. I mean, I've got our representative in my phone book. I mean, I have his personal number. He gives his personal cell phone number out on his page, and I'm just like, this is a guy who wants to hear from his constituents. People, when we all have these great issues or these great ideas on what we're what we want to do and we can't do, but we don't do because we don't have, I don't know if the word I want to say is get up and go after it or not. But I mean,
I don't know if people have forgotten how much power that we really have, we the people, or if we've just gotten lazy, or if it's a mix of both. I think it's probably a mix of both, but really, like, we have a say in stuff like this. And if more people, I think if more people got involved with like local politics and stuff like that, and if people put more effort, maybe our government would be better.
yeah,
Not maybe, it would be better.
yeah.
But instead, $20,000 on trash cans and not taking care of homeless.
Right.
Priorities.
So,
but I can't speak on California. I don't live there.
Sean, what's your thoughts on that?
It kind of goes along with what you had said. I wish that this is something that they could have used to combat other things that are like, and maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they think that this will be the answer to their trash crisis, are aesthetically pleasing trash cans. I don't think that's necessarily the case, but it's San Francisco, and God only knows. I mean, one of the most frustrating things that at least for me, right? And I don't even know why this bothers me. It really shouldn't. But when you ask like people like, from other countries about America, what do they think? And usually they kind of answer like, they know New York, Texas, and California, Los Angeles. And you think of like places like San Francisco, think of like the history, San Francisco has in cinema and film, when people see it, like the Golden Gate Bridge and all that stuff. And it just seems like, kind of out west, some of those people like to pat themselves on the back thinking that they're so progressive and doing the right thing and doing all this. But it's like, look at the crisis, look at the problems that are happening in your cities because of lack of good leadership. Clearly, it's weird. It's almost like if you think you keep just putting out more and more and more and more and more of these programs that are already in place in a lot of these cities, that it's just they're eventually just going to fix themselves. And they are clearly seeing, like, look at, and this just kind of goes to show, look at the amount of celebrities that have left Los Angeles in like the last year alone.
Yeah.
Like major ones that have moved away.
Yeah.
Because, well, here's the thing. You want to know the people leaving California to Texas? People that have money.
Yeah.
Because they're like,
they don't get taxed to death.
Yeah, and that was a big argument that I remember. I've had it with several people. I had this argument with a lot of people actually, who usually just like to speak out of their ass. But I always said, regardless of what people believe or what people think, is when it comes to these billionaires, people that have wealth, real generational wealth. This was my argument when Bernie was running for president and like had released a tax plan, and it was something in the ballpark of like certain people after a certain number, like it circulated like somewhere in the ballpark of like 60-70% tax rate, right, for these individuals. Jeez. But here's the thing. Why would they stay? Why?
Yeah, why would they?
Why would they stay?
Illinois is the perfect example of that. I can't wait to see the census results at the end of this. They'll release the census results at the end of this year, I think, or the middle of this year. It's actually coming up. But the number of businesses, Illinois is not bleeding. They're hemorrhaging, massively hemorrhaging businesses that are leaving in droves. We have and if you can believe this, Illinois does have one of the highest corporate tax rates in the United States, and businesses are leaving in droves. The average that I heard, the last average that I heard, and this has been a while, but somewhere in the neighborhood of 30,000 people per year for the last average for like the last 5 years. 30,000 people have left Illinois for one reason or another. And I harp about this, and I still can't. I'm still smiling ear to ear about the fact that I've left, and just the money I've saved already, and just I looked at a receipt that I got from Walmart the other day, and just looking at the sales tax, even, stuff as simple as that. I mean, people, Travis, you can back me up on this. I mean, it's ridiculous on what you're paying in sales tax.
Oh, it's insane. There are things that I wait until I travel home and see my family or whatever, that I'll wait to go to Missouri and buy.
Yeah.
Just because of sales tax and even the price of the goods in general. Things are just cheaper in Missouri.
Well, and governments believe that taxes. I'm not going to say taxes aren't necessary to take care of your infrastructure, to take care of your citizens. Taxes are necessary, but you look at these states, and I mean, Illinois is not the only one. There are a number of different states that don't have a balanced budget. I remember one of the constitutional amendments that was added to the Missouri Constitution. It was in 1996, I believe it was that Missouri had to have a balanced budget every year.
Good.
And that, Indiana, probably one of the good things that Mike Pence did for Indiana was he brought them out of their deficit and did the same thing. You've got to have you have to have a balanced ledger. I mean, if you or I, guys, would say, okay, I only have, I only got $2,000 in the savings account, but you know what? I feel like going out and buying $10,000 worth of stuff this weekend. I'm going to go ahead and do it. I don't have the money. I'll borrow it, and then if I can't pay it back, well, then I just, then I'll just claim bankruptcy, or I'll just, I'll borrow, or I'll get another credit card to pay off that credit card. To me, that's what these states do when they don't have a balanced budget. I mean, we can't get away with it. Why should they? Why should they?
Well, I mean, and that's why it's just so unreal. And truthfully, like, you can balance a budget, and you can balance a budget to benefit the people around you. Like, here's the thing: when it comes to guys like when it comes to the Elon Musks and the Jeff Bezos, the people that just hate them for being rich, sure, whatever. You want to hate them for being billionaires? I really don't give a shit. Hate them for being billionaires. But if you should be mad about anything, yes, you should be mad when giant corporations like that aren't taxed. However, there's a lot of loopholes to the system as to why they're not taxed, and because of that reason, that's why they're able to put giant mega warehouses, mega factories, employing hundreds of thousands of people across the United States. Like they are generating revenue for these states. That's why cities are begging them to get there. But like, there's no reason why, people shouldn't be paying taxes. Taxes are important. Now, I'm a firm believer. Again, I'm much more of a well-regulated state. I believe that if you want to live in a state where there's high taxes, be my guest. Move there. Go live in the state where there's high taxes, where rainbows and sunshines and ponies give you whatever the hell you want. I don't give a shit.
Yeah, come to Illinois.
But
yeah.
If you want to go live someplace where there's no taxes or lower taxes, and if that state can make it work, here's the thing. I get, yeah, maybe if you live there now, like let's say you live in Texas and you hate Texas because you feel like it's a big old conservative state. You can never escape. You're never going to get rich in Texas because big corporations keep coming there and they keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger. Guess what? Leave. You take the time, save the money, and leave. Go into debt and leave. It doesn't matter. Leave if you want to leave. If you don't like it, that's the good thing. It's a state. Okay, you're not entrapped by the state. Just get out of the state. Go to where the rainbows and sunshines and unicorns and the ponies are. Go there. Take your happy ass to that state. And then when you're there, you're going to sit there and be like, wow, this actually sucks a whole lot more, except I get XYZ. But XYZ doesn't work because everyone fled here to try to get XYZ. And no one wants to pay for XYZ. The money's gone. And that's where we're going to be talking about tonight is it time? Do we need a fourth stimulus, right?
Right. And
it depends on who you ask. It really depends on who you ask. Do I think that I need more stimulus money? No, I don't. I'm living comfortably. I don't need extra cash. Would I like it? Absolutely. I would love it. I would love to have free cash if it was free cash. But what people don't understand, what I keep seeing a lot of, I'm sorry I'm getting so heated. This is just a stupid topic that these people are getting.
I'm going to join you here in a second. So go ahead.
Is we continue to, one of the big things I literally see people like, well, it's just, we clearly can print it. Clearly it doesn't matter. Clearly it doesn't matter. We can print it. The government's proven if the government can hand out, $20 trillion worth to the people, then they can cancel student loan debt. They can give us free health care because that only costs this much money. They can give us that. Shut the hell up. What you don't understand, what a lot of these people don't understand, is that there is going to be a price to pay. And it is going to be a nationwide price to pay. And guess what? Guess what, people? It's not like it's going to affect any one of the 1%. It's not like it's going to affect anyone that works in those big old fancy white buildings with the pillars in front of them. It will not affect those individuals. It will not affect their friends. It will affect the broke people who did not have money, that got the stimulus, that bought stupid shit, didn't use the stimulus money the way that they potentially should have used the stimulus money. Instead, they might have bought into stocks and lost it all because they didn't get the short squeeze on the first 2 days of GameStop or AMC. And now they've lost all said money, or they put it all in Bitcoin and it crashed on them, or they put it into Dogecoin and it crashed on them. People, I'm not saying everybody, but a lot of people didn't use the money correctly. If we get more money, then they're probably not going to, fourth time's probably not going to be the charm. And who's going to have to pay for it? You, me, and everyone else that's going to be getting the check and be like, woohoo, more cash. And then fast forward, a day of reckoning is coming to the U.S. economy. That is for certain.
Well, let me, and you guys aren't going to be able to see this, but Sean and Travis both know about this. So I'm going to show the viewers the first thing. And this was kind of the thing that encouraged our little discussion tonight. This was a post that I posted, and for those of you who are listening and aren't watching live, it is a post that I put on Facebook. It says, "We do not need a fourth stimulus payout. Go find a job." And as of about 20, well, we've been on for 26 minutes now. So as of 27 minutes ago, I had 61 comments. And the only other time I get more comments on stuff is like when I get somebody wishes me happy birthday or happy anniversary. And the conversation that came up from this was heated and was ugly. And one of the reasons why, and other than the podcast, I may take another self-imposed break after this, but the level of Sean, the vitriol, is that the right word? The amount of just vitriol that came out of this post was ridiculous. And people, I mean, everything that, one comment, people have been trying to get jobs but are refusing to work for places that have no benefits, don't pay a livable wage, or don't want to deal with the hostile, toxic work environments. Just because other generations had it doesn't mean everyone should. And that right there, that set me off because, so statistics saying right now, and I just looked this up before the show, June unemployment numbers, 5.9%. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, in April of 2021, they released a report. There is an unprecedented 9.3 million job openings available, one of the highest times in history. You know the other time that matched that? World War II, after the bombing of Pearl Harbor, was the last time that we had a job market that wide open. 9.3 million jobs. And, Travis and I were talking about this before you came on too, Sean. And one of the things that really angered me about this was people say, "Well, Van Beber, your true colors are coming out. You're not unsympathetic," and then they throw the unchristian card at me and all that kind of crap, and it really pissed me off. And so I don't get out of order on this. I'm going to start with the first thing. My first thing is this: we have to, as citizens, start being accountable for our own actions. Period. Okay, if I'm going to say I want to go to a 4-year college and I want to get a liberal arts degree because I want to do, and I've heard of people who have said, they have some great dreams, and there's nothing wrong with having a dream. There's nothing wrong with having, I want to be, a crime scene investigator. Okay, great. Go to school, get it, and you're not going to be a crime scene investigator in Pike County, Illinois, or Missouri and make a ton of money. Okay, you're going to have to go to a bigger market. You're going to have to go to a Chicago. You're going to have to go to St. Louis, Kansas City, Jeff City. You're going to have to go to a bigger market. But I'm going to go and I want to be a fashion designer. I know a lot of girls from Clopton. I know of 4 personally who got a fashion degree. Of those 4, I know of 2 of them who went to New York City. One of them I think was in your guys' class or right before you. And she's got a 6. I talked to her mom. Her mom works for a local office supply place here in Louisiana. And her mom, she's making 6 figures doing the fashion thing up in New York City. But yet
Awesome.
there are other people who go and get those kind of degrees, and then they go and they want to stay in their home area. Okay, so what's available in rural Northeast Central Missouri? I mean, there's nothing you can. You go in there and they say, okay, let's see your college degree. Okay, you have a degree in fashion. Okay, that's not going to work here at this job. And I think people get satisfied. It's like, well, I don't want to work in a crappy job condition, and so this is why. And I read this article that was brought up in that Facebook post that I had, and they listed this article, and I mean, and so some of the things I actually print, and it says, okay, so here are some of the things that are leading to, and we can discuss these one by one if we want to, but it says here's some of the true reasons for why these people are not going back to work. Okay, number 1, stagnant wages have been a major problem for decades, and we've talked about this. We dedicated a whole show to this. It was the first time that Matt was on with us, and we do agree that wages are stagnant. But here's the thing: if you don't have a job, which would you rather have? Not have a job, sitting at home, drawing unemployment. If it came down to it, and I lost my teaching job, I would do whatever I could, work 2 or 3 jobs if I had to, just to make it to where if it meant me working at McDonald's. Listen, I've worked at pizza joints, I've worked in factories, I've worked in hot, in for private businesses. I've done outdoor labor. Why? Because I needed the money to pay for my student loan. I didn't go immediately into teaching right out of college. Okay, and so I took the crappy job. I was in the toxic work environment. I worked for a lumber yard in Hannibal, Missouri for close to a year, and people were always nipping and biting at each other's backs, and it was cutthroat because it was commission-based income, and it was and it was cutthroat, and it was terrible. But I did it. Why? Because I didn't have a teaching job. I had to do what I had to do in order to be able to pay the rent. I wasn't going to live at home with mom and dad. Okay, so why is it? I mean, I think people think that if they get into a job, they just, okay, we're going to have to, this is what I'm going to do for the rest of my life. I mean, is it because people don't have a dream? They want to, like we talked about earlier, Travis, about it being a stepping stone? Or is it about people just not having they'd rather stay at home instead of putting up with all the crap? I mean, what is it?
I don't really know where to start with this. Sean, you want to get around?
I think it's maybe even a bit of a mix of both. Like, so there's always been that stigma, right, about living with like mom and dad. When you graduate from high school, like if you live with your mom and dad, like, oh God, this person's 30 living with their mom and dad. But in recent years, we've seen more and more people that were forced to do it, moving out. Like I knew people that were not living with parents that had to end up living with parents. And then I look at like a lot of my friends that have roommates and stuff that I'm super jealous of because I can see the amount of money that they're saving. Like it's ridiculous. It's smart. It is so smart, whether it's living with mom and dad, whether it's living with a bunch of friends for a while, like do it. Mm-hmm. The idea that you have to be, I think a big misconception is because because it's the social media age and we see things and people are talking louder than they've ever wanted to. us included, but like influence is a big thing. You see all these like 18, 19-year-old influencers going and traveling and doing this and getting to do that and getting to do this, but there's no backstory. There's no backstory to why they get to do this, why they get to do that. They might put on a facade like Travis and I, like we're both pretty big fitness guys. We see fitness influencers on Instagram that talk about, I'm all natty, I do this, I do this, I do this, and it's a load of dog shit. It is a load of shit. If they're not injecting test, trend, debol, it doesn't matter. There are so many fake natural fitness influencers. It's the same thing for like life influencers or lifestyle influencers that like just promote like, I did this, you can do it too. I did this, you can do it too. So you have all these young people that are coming out like, I want to be able to travel. I want a good, nice paying job. I want a nice car. I want a nice home, and I demand it.
Instant gratification.
It's not just young people. Like it's people that have been around, the block too. It's just people in general want instant gratification. There's nothing wrong with that. I mean, that's like why I sometimes struggle on my diet all the time. I want a brownie because a brownie's instant gratification, whereas eating broccoli straight up sucks because you got to choke it down for 15 minutes. Right? People want that instant gratification. And that's why sometimes people splurge on things, or they go out and they buy things, or they go out and they get things that they necessarily shouldn't. And so when you see, that's part of the reason, and I'm not trying to plug the Guard, but
no,
part of the reason why I ended up staying in was because the Guard, what's been so beneficial for me at least, was because it was a part-time supplemental income thing. That like when I joined the Guard, I specifically joined for college because I did not want student loan debt. That was my biggest thing, is I did not want student loan debt because I've seen what it has done to certain people over time. And especially when I first got into college, I wanted to be a theater major. That changed. Thankfully, that changed. And I've steered it in another direction because my life took me a different direction. Here's the thing. I'm still able to pursue the arts. I still love the arts. I'm trying to be a professional wrestler / actor / entrepreneur. So to say that like you can have dreams and still chase your dreams, you just have to be smart about it. I didn't go into debt to tackle any of those dreams. I just did it smartly. I did it. I've strung it out, but I joined the Guard because I knew I needed insurance, right? When you get older, you have to have insurance. If your parents don't have insurance and you're not on your parents' insurance and you don't have it, thankfully, my parents had it, and I could have had it up until I turned 26. But for me, having my own insurance through a really good program with TRICARE was ideal. Retirement, slowly being able to put very bare minimum amounts of cash away in at 18 will still pay dividends down the road. There's so many little things one can do. If you have a dream, if you have a passion, because I get it, maybe not everybody wants to, work construction forever or work a 9 to 5. That's my big thing is I never want to work a 9 to 5. I always want a job that, I'm the boss, I can make my own time. But I understand that jumping out, trying to do that right away, when I was 21 or 20 or 19 or even, it's just, what I could have, how far back could I have set myself? And some people just want that instant gratification and they get angry that they might have to work a 9 to 5 for a little while. But here's the thing. I forget what the quote was. I want to say it was either Joe Rogan, The Rock, or Kevin Hart, one of those guys that literally works nonstop till the wheels fall off. But one of the things is, if you have dreams, if you have goals, if you want to have a secondary career other than the thing that you're doing, you cannot do a 40-hour work week. Okay. You cannot do a 40-hour work week. You put your 40 hours into your full-time job and you put 40 hours into your dream. Okay. And then by putting 40 hours into your dream each week, 80 hours is a long ass work week. Let me tell you. But if you do it, if you do the 80-hour work week, eventually that 40-hour dream week is going to start to generate income. And then you can roll back that 9 to 5 job to 30 hours a week. Okay. Then you can put 50 hours towards your dream. All right. And then once that starts generating even more income, then you can go to 20 hours a week with your full-time job. And then you can put even more time. Okay. Then you can go to 60 hours with your dream. And then you can go to 10 hours at your now part-time job and 70 hours into your dream. And you can do that until that dream becomes your life. It is possible, and it is hard. I'm learning it every single day. I fail at it every single day. But it is possible, and the instant gratification of wanting it and not wanting to work for it it's frustrating, especially when I see a lot of good people trying that. So
well, and also to address that too, Sean, is that I want to get back to this account, and you mentioned it too, the whole accountability thing. I mean, that you want instant gratification. I want it now. If I had a list of, I have a laundry list of things that I still, even though I moved into a much better house, the first house that I purchased, I put $0 down. I got through an FHA loan, and it it barely qualified as a house. It was the 900 square foot house. Okay, tiny house my first house that I ever bought. And my first wife and I, we lived in that house, and it literally, and she was doing babysitting out of the home, and I was working there at the school. Between the two of us in 1998, 99, we were, between the two of us, making 30 grand. Okay. And we had enough but here's the things we didn't do. We didn't go out and eat. We didn't have, the big, we had a 29-inch television in our living room. We didn't have big TV. We had, and I'm with you with what you said, instant gratification. So if I had made poor decisions, and as I was reading about, and as you were talking, I was kind of scrolling back through some of those posts, and I saw some people said, okay, so if you're poor and you're in need, then it's your fault. Andy Van Beber said it here first, folks. Well, who made the decision? Who made the decision? Did somebody kind of like what you said earlier, did somebody twist your arm and say, you're going to go do this? Nobody's twisting your arm. And when we make bad decisions, and then our natural inclination is to look back and say, okay, who can bail me out? Well, mom and dad aren't probably going to help bail me out. So now who do I look to? I look to the government. That's our natural inclination, is to look to the government to say, how can you help me? And now we've gone, it's like we're on crack now. I'll show, I got this other, you guys again aren't going to be able to see this, but you guys are familiar with this. This is you can go to this is usdebtclock.org, and I want to just bring up so this is what you guys are seeing here, or watching this right now live on Facebook, are seeing. This is actual in time. So right now, 28 trillion, 568 billion, 553, 54 billion, that's our actual debt going right there right now. Okay. And why is that? Because people, all these programs, all these things, go back to what Sean was saying earlier about moving to, a better place that offers, I forgot how you said it, unicorns and lollipops and rainbows and everything. But, and I agree with what you said earlier, Sean, there will be a major day of reckoning. We are not going to escape this. And I know, Travis, you look a lot into the money markets and everything too. And the trends on the stock market and everything. This is not going to go on forever. We cannot just keep on saying borrow, so we can fund this and we can fund that and we can fund this and we can fund that. People, okay, I want to be helped. There was a time in this country, and here's my history coming out. And here we go talking about the Great Depression again. Yes, when people were borrowing more money than, credit was easy. When you look at 1928, 1929, you could take out multiple, pay-as-you-go loans on, like, basically is rent to own a car, rent to own the radio.
Buying on margin.
Yeah, and then people were buying stock on margin, and people were buying with money they did not have. And when it came to a point where everything topped out and people got everything they wanted, everything fell apart. Okay, well now, okay, government, what can you do for us? Well, we've never had to do this before, so and thus, enter Franklin Roosevelt, and we entered this society now where, you know, it was something that was needed at the time. Franklin Roosevelt tried his hardest to get our country back to work, but once you start putting that money out there and the people see it, okay, now we're going to be more, dedicated to the government helping us out than, and people hate the idea, like you said. People hate the idea of, if I say pick yourself up by your own bootstraps, that pisses more people off than anything else, especially, in the last 25, I'm getting ready to start my 25th year of teaching. In the last 15 years, that pisses more students, that pisses more younger generation people off when I say that. Oh, don't tell me about how it was easier for you back in the day. Pardon my French, but hell no, it wasn't easier for me. It wasn't easier for me. I look back on those times in my life where I was barely scraping by and barely making it and scrapping to make ends meet. But I look at that time with fondness because it taught me a lesson. It taught me that this is just, and again, what you said, Travis, it's a stepping stone. I'm not going to be living this way for the rest of my life. So what happened? I found, I had, I got my master's degree. I bumped up on the pay scale. I got more years of experience. I plugged away at, before I came to Clopton, I worked at a really, you think Clopton's poor. I worked at a really poor Southeast Missouri school district, where, like I've said before, some of my students made more money than I did teaching, working out of high school. So those were things that, you have to look at these life experiences. Like you said, Sean, you can't have it all just delivered to you, boom, right now. And if I don't get what I want, government, you better step in here and help me with what I want. Travis, we've been leaving you out. What do you got?
No, you guys are good. You all make really good points, and not to beat the hammer too much on this, but hit the nail on the head, whatever the metaphor is. We talked about stepping stones a lot, and first off, with the stimulus, let me just say, if there is in fact a full stimulus check, I better not be one of the people that see it.
Me too.
There better be very strict guidelines on who this money goes to, and it better go to struggling families that actually need it. If they do it, like, I don't want to see everybody getting stimulus checks. It's stupid. Like, am I rich? No. Do I need money from the government? No, I don't want money from the government. I work for my money. That's just my mindset, and unfortunately, I think we're losing that in our society. But I guess I could talk on a personal experience. And look, we're so exposed to everything you see on the internet. Like Sean made a good point. You see the people on Instagram living these amazing lives and things like that. And we look at our own life and we're like, well, I want that. They don't see the behind the scenes stuff that go into some of these things. I work a job right now. I make a pretty much minimum wage. I get no benefits whatsoever. I do not get health care. I do not get 401k. I have no benefits. I have to drive to most job sites. And, one of the arguments I heard on one of your the comments was, people don't want to work hard jobs for less benefits. And I work a hard job. It's construction. It kicks my ass. Today kicked my ass. I don't get any benefits. Now, going back to what we said, stepping stones, right? You got to start somewhere. And I can speak on my personal experience here. I'm starting at bottom all over again. I left the military from a pretty high up job, and I'm starting all over again from the bottom. But I look at it from, I got to start here because next year I'll probably be making double what I'm making now, and I will have the benefits. And, you got to put your time in and start out. It just is what it is. You don't start out a manager at a bank. You start out as a teller or, whatever the job is. And, I don't understand why people are begging for this, because there's just consequences. Every action, there is a reaction. There is, this money printing, this free money, the more dollars there are, the less valuable it is. I mean, it's just
People,
supply and
yeah,
demand, basic principle stuff, and it's it's just the fallout of it is going to be interesting. I mean, inflation's here.
yeah, and it's
They
only
just
going to
gave
get
out a
worse
report,
too.
and I forget what the percentage was, and it's just the beginning. And even the Fed are finally coming out like, okay, yeah, it's inflation, but don't worry, we're going to take care of it. Yeah, okay. But we have to have that Hank on again one of these days to talk about that. But
Well, well, don't you think too that they're? I mean, they're. I almost feel like the government is trying to do a forced prosperity, if that's even a correct term to look at. I mean, the Fed. You mentioned the Fed. The Fed keeping the interest rate low is trying to stimulate more borrowing. More people, and the
yeah,
other,
that's true.
and in doing so, you're creating a vacuum. I mean, this we're setting ourselves up for the same failure that we had. You know, at some point, the Fed's going to have to say, "Look, we're overextending ourselves, and we're going to have to raise this. We're going to have to raise this interest rate to discourage this credit-filled society that we're living in. I mean, there's got to be an end somewhere in sight. I mean, right now, I mean, well, I bought the house at 3 point, I forgot what it was, 3.19 or something like that, and and we're and again I want to get back to this whole thing about we're relying too much on the government to provide prosperity, to provide instant gratification, like you said, Sean. And man, that's going to be, I hate to say, that's going to be, I think that's going to be our downfall right there.
Well, and the thing too, I mean, people, a lot of the financial problems that people are finding themselves in, and in my opinion, from my personal experience, it's just because I was not responsible with my own money, or I overextended myself. I mean, certainly the government's been overextending themselves, which we've been discussing. Um, and I think a lot of people struggling, if they would just live within their means, I don't think they would be where they are. And if people prioritize things a little bit better instead of all the flashy, like for example, let me give you guys a great example, right? So my job, our shop is right across from a food pantry, right? Food pantry, give food to people. Everyone knows what they are. Anyway,
Right.
it's supposed to be for people that need it. And you would be surprised the amount of people I see pull up in Teslas, BMWs, shiny Lexus cars. I mean, you're talking like 50, 60, $70,000 cars, some even more expensive, for these food pantries. And it's like, really, you're going to drive an $80,000 car, but you have to go to the food pantry to get food. Like, where are the priorities there? That doesn't make sense to me, but people want it.
And
their favorite celebrity drives that car. I want that car.
I'll make a confession to you right now, fellas, and not a lot of people know this about me, but I have. So when I first got out of college and I got my first teaching job and I got my first credit card, I went nuts with my first credit card. And from that time, and then through my divorce, and then after that, when I was living on my own, I was a bachelor and I was living a lot on credit, and I was in between teaching jobs. Long story short, I've racked up probably close. This isn't student debt. I've paid my student loans off. I currently have, and I've consolidated all my debt that I've acquired over the last 20 years, and I've acquired probably about 25 grand worth of debt. And I consolidated that all into one loan, and I pay $685 a month, and I will have that paid off in 4 years. And I have promised myself that I'm not going to get into that mess again. Now, I mean, when we first took out that $685 a month is a lot of money, and I can think of much better things that I can spend $685 on, rather than spending it on paying off a loan that I consolidated all my debt into. Okay, and then we got into a second jam when we had some medical issues and some medical problems, and we pay now on a second loan that was $10,000. So all things aside, I've probably got about $38,000 worth of consolidated loans that I'm paying on. But here's the thing: I'm taking responsibility for what I've done. I'm not blaming it on anybody else. I am the most impulsive buyer that there can be. My wife is probably the most, she will research everything to the nth degree. We balance each other out so well. Okay? So when it comes to owning up to and being accountable, I speak from my experience. I mean, and it is from what you just described is what I was there when I was a young kid. That's what I was. Sean, I was the kid who said, okay, I'm living in this little crap box 900 square foot house. Man, I always wanted to have a Chevy Z71 pickup truck. Well, by golly, I went out and bought me one. Okay. And then when I saw I really like the Pontiac Bonneville. I went upside down on that truck to buy that Pontiac Bonneville. Okay. Debt after debt after debt after debt after debt. And then I had a car accident in 1999. Got a $50,000 settlement out of it. You know how much of that $50,000 I have left now today? None. Why? Because I blew it all. I blew it all. And at that time, I paid off every debt that I had after I had that $50,000 settlement. I paid off my student loans. I paid off my cars. I had zero debt. Zero debt. In 1999 was probably the last time that I was flat even. And I should have stayed that way. But after I paid off all my debt, I still had about $30,000 burning a hole in my pocket. And I would just buy. And then when the money was gone, I'm still burning up, and so who do I look to? Well, it's me, and we look, and I'm reading a book right now, it talks about, and I'm probably going to stomp on some toes here, but there's a lot of this book I'm reading right now. It says the reason for a lot of the problems that we have in society, isn't really society itself. It starts with us, the individual.
Yes.
And we have messed 100%. Up individuals then who have messed up families, who then live in messed up communities, who go to messed up, who then contribute to messed up jobs, who then contributes to a messed up community, which to a messed up county, to a messed up state, to a messed up. And where does it all start at? We're not wanting to take responsibility for what we did. We want the government to come and bail us out. And that was kind of the point, and people don't want to hear that. I am the source of my debt, and I'm going to accept that. I'm at the, I made a bad decision. I'm not, I'm like you. Hey, you want to give me free money? Give me free money, I guess. But at the same time, I'm like you, Travis. If there's going to be a forced stimulus check, it better not end up at the Van Beber house. Mm-hmm. I'm sorry, I rambled.
God,
there.
Thank
no,
you
you're good.
That really hit home with me. I was in similar situations, and again, I didn't ask for people to bail me out. You do what you have to do, and you take responsibility for your actions, and you get your shit together, and you learn from it. And unfortunately, not everybody learns from their mistakes, and they wonder why they are where they are.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, I've done, again, similar things is like when part of the reason why I re-enlisted was, Tony and I had a talk and where we were at with debt, and part of the re-enlistment came with a bonus. And there were some things I really wanted to use that money for, but it was just best to get rid of all debt. And then that's what that bonus went to, was getting out of debt. That's part of the reason why, we yo-yo on the idea of when do we want to buy a house, and, what kind of house are we going to buy? Because then, if we buy a cheaper home to save payments, then, how much are we going to have to put into the home, and how much in debt are we going to have to go into to renovate, said home. And there's a lot of big what ifs and getting it figured out. But thankfully, we have surrounded ourselves with a pretty good group of people and supportive friends. You two are definitely in that circle of friends, I'd say. And because we know that we have that kind of support of the people around us, it makes those decisions not as scary, and 100%. And we are very grateful that we have people like that in our lives. And that's a big step for some, is definitely being able to set up and admit to mistakes and then tackle them actually head on is where, that's where you grow as a person. And I think if more and more people could tackle things like that, we definitely would have a much brighter future set in stone for generations of Americans to come.
I think so too. And I mean, I we were, and I just want to go back to that post just one more time and get the rest of. I want to just vent one more thing on that.
Mm-hmm.
We as a group were kind of attacked as far as saying, well, we've asked this one certain person to be on our show many times, and he's just like, well, I'm just a little white boy from middle America. I don't really know if I have what it takes to commit to a voice of reason. Let me set something straight. The reason why we do this podcast is, one thing is, we like hanging around with each other. We like talking with each other. We all three have, this is our opinion. We call ourselves the voice of reason, not because we just jump to something. When I say I partnered up with these two gentlemen right here, I partnered up with two guys who I knew in high school and I know now, and I know that these are guys who now have seen the world. They've literally have seen the world, and they've got a little bit of experience, and they're not so wet behind the ears anymore. And we take time and we discuss stuff. We discuss stuff even if we disagree on some stuff. We discuss stuff, and we come here and we call it the voice of reason because we're talking. We're reasoning things out. We're looking at the hardcore. Here's where it is. Okay, we don't claim to be anything special. I want to put that out there right now. If you're a first-time listener or a second-time listener, we don't have any. We're not providing that we're experts on anything. You may nope. Call out and say, "Man, what those guys said was a bunch of crap. I can prove them wrong on this, and this." Well, listen. This is why we invite people onto our show. This is why we invite. If you want to call BS on, we're going to be, and I'm going to give another plug for this. It is going to happen, so hopefully sometime in August. We are going to have a discussion on critical race theory, and we're going to have. That's probably going to be. I think that's probably going to be one of our best shows, because we're going to have somebody on here who's really going to call our bluff. I can tell you that much. The person who we're going to have on, she is going to hold our feet to the fire, and it'll be probably one of our best shows. But the thing about it is, if you disagree with us, please talk to us about it. Tell us why you think you're wrong. But at the end of the day, we're not out to change anybody's opinion. Okay? We are putting out our voice of what we think is reasonable. The voice of reason is just that. Is us just guys sitting around talking and at the end of the day, are we going to solve any world problems? Probably not. But we're doing something about it. We're discussing, and to those people who say, well, you're just cold-hearted. I mean, at the end of the day, I really don't care what people think about me on social media. But at the same time, I don't want people. I think I posted this on my post. I said, I'm not Ebenezer Scrooge. I want to do something about the ills in our society. If I see somebody I can help, I want to help them. So rant over. I'm done. You guys can finish us up here. Let's go.
No, you're good. And like you had said, like it's not so much our voices that we're wanting to be heard. That, again, the voice of reason is to literally sit there and take the time and talk and think things out. Like, I would say all three of us definitely had, not necessarily, we learned a lot. Like when we had Samwise on, and he kind of like broke down the voting laws in Georgia and explained them in a way that was like, okay,
that was a great
that makes sense.
It changed my point of view
on what you're talking about. Exactly. And so we're not here to just say like what we have is facts. The voice of reason is literally coming from the fact of, hey, there's people with different opinions. There's people with different beliefs. You don't have to agree with them. Just talk. And literally, that's why we want people that don't agree with, because there's things like I would say we're pretty even keel, but there's definitely things we don't agree on, or we have different ideas about. But we specifically want people that don't agree with us on, so we can learn. So we can learning is where it's all about, or at least try to come to a middle ground where others don't. So,
well, I'm still trying to
Travis,
I'm still trying to figure out why you like gay midget porn, but that's just neither here nor there. But
and that'll be the next episode. So, and that's all we gotta. That'll be the next episode for sure. Travis, before we get out of here, is there anything you'd like to add?
No, thank you guys for listening. Again, with that list coming out, any of the younger audience, if you guys have any questions on any of it, or even if you're older and you want to take advantage of the opportunities, like feel free to reach out to me or the page. Like I'd be glad to help you guys out. And, if you're looking in the military, which is on that list, Sean Phillips here can.
Sean Phillips, the man, right there, there.
Well, again, ladies and gentlemen, thank you all so much for taking the time to listen to us. If you guys choose to do so. If you guys know anyone that you think would love to be on the podcast for our regular listeners, anyone that you might know that thinks outside the box or thinks differently than we do on certain topics that you would like to hear their voice heard on this show, please let us know. Please let them know about us. Please like this video on Facebook. If you're listening on Facebook, please share the post. If you listen to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Podbean, wherever you guys choose to listen to us, please, 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 I ask you this week, tell a friend, tell a coworker, tell someone about one of the episodes that you guys have heard that you guys really like. Say, hey, don't you know someone that, actually thinks differently than this? Why don't you see if we can get a hold of them? Because we would love to bring anybody onto the show, not to try to debate them, not to try to sit there and argue with them, but we're truthfully, genuinely just trying to get different ideas and voices to be heard. We want to hear them. We want to learn. We want to see outside experiences that we can't see. And I'm so happy with how far we've come and we'll continue to come. And I can't wait for you guys to listen to us next week and for weeks to come. So from the bottom of my heart, that's all I've got to say. Andy, Travis, is there anything you guys like to add before we sign out?
Thank you guys. Have a great week.
Perfect. We'll see you guys next time.
All right. We'll see you.